You're watching LMCC.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mound Fire Department 2021 Patriot Day Memorial Ceremony. I am Eric Hoverston, City Manager and Director of Public Works for the City of Mound. It is my pleasure to officiate today's events on behalf of the department and our larger community partners. Thank you for taking time to be with us this morning to honor those that serve and remember our fallen comrades from events that happened on September 11th, 2001. Our event today will recognize patriotism, commitment to service, the prominence of public safety, and resilience of America. Please take a moment to silence any electronic devices that you may have with you, and we will begin. But before we begin the formal ceremony, I would like to acknowledge the special guests we have in attendance with us today. Please hold your applause through the conclusion of these introductions. Congressman Dean Phillips sends his regrets as he is attending a memorial for a close personal friend later this morning. But from Congressman Phillips' Minnetonka offices, Home Office Chief of Staff Zach Radvold, Senator David Osmek, Senator for Minnesota Senate District 33, former Mound Council member, and our keynote speaker for today, Representative Kelly Morrison, Minnesota House District 33B, and Mayor Raymond Salazar, City of Mound. I would also like to acknowledge any other of our local mayors, our council members, and other dignitaries from the local area who have joined us this morning. Please join me in welcoming our special guests. Later in the ceremony, I will recognize our emergency services, first responder, and law enforcement units and personnel representing them here today as a formal part of the event. Again, and a final welcome to community friends, neighbors, and thank you for joining us here today for this important event. Let us begin. Please stand as you are able for the posting of the colors by the Mound American Legion Honor Guard and the singing of our national anthem by Isabel Newell from the Westonka High School choirs. Post the colors.
And salute. 2. Honor guard, right leg. Forward march. See
Thank you, Legion and Ms. Newell, for that special contribution to our ceremony today. Please remain standing as you are able and join Captain Andy Drilling from the Mound Fire Department in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I will invite Mayor Ray Salazar from the City of Mound to the podium for some opening remarks.
Welcome, everyone. Where were you on 9/11? That question has become part of the fabric of our lives as Americans. On that beautiful sunny day on September 11th, 2001, America was attacked and watched in horror as two hijacked planes in an act of war crashed into the World Trade Center, killing 2,977 Americans. We watched a third hijacked plane crash into the Pentagon and a fourth plane, Flight 93, crash into a Pennsylvania field. We met the worst of humanity and the best of humanity that day. In Tower 2 was the headquarters of Morgan Stanley. The chief of security was Rick Rescorla, a decorated Vietnam U.S. Army Ranger veteran. Rescorla saved 2,700 Morgan Stanley employees before returning to save additional trapped employees in the towers and lost his life. Minnesota native Tom Burnett formed a vanguard with fellow passengers on Flight 93 to prevent the terrorists from reaching their intended target, being the Capitol or the White House, and crashed into a Pennsylvania field. Our firefighters, police, and passengers on Flight 93 sent an enduring example of what courage and democracy looks like. They ran towards danger to help people they did not know. They ran into fire, sharing a selfless commitment to the common good in a time of crisis. We as Americans have always been able to unite in a time of crisis. That character of our country is not exclusive for a crisis. We need to learn from history and honor the examples of the heroes of 9/11, channeling their commitment to the common good in defending our democracy. To those first responders and Americans that gave the ultimate sacrifice for our democracy, we say thank you and God bless you. For those current first responders and great Americans that are serving, please know that we Americans, all of us, have your six. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Salazar. It is now my pleasure to introduce Senator Osmek. Senator David Osmek has been a longtime resident of the City of Mound. Prior to his service to our community as a senator for Senate District 33, he served as a member of our City Council. He's no stranger to the needs and has been an ardent supporter of our local emergency services response units and their members. Please give a warm welcome to our keynote for today, Senator David Osmek.
Well, thank you and good morning. Before I started my comments, I did want to recognize someone who came in a little late, but I know that some people know about our 9/11 memorial, which we've had a couple of ceremonies down at Veterans Park, I think it is. Bill Anderson is here. Hold up your hand, Bill. I'm looking at you. Hey, Bill. Bill Anderson, raise your hand. There. Raise your hand, Bill. Bill Anderson was the lead person at the VFW who helped create the memorial that you'll see a picture of over here. I was on Parks Commission when that came through, and we very quickly got this memorial put together for the first anniversary of 9/11. And I just wanted to recognize Bill because he was one of the driving forces to get that. We're one of the few cities in the state of Minnesota that has a 9/11 memorial. So I just want to make sure we recognized him for his efforts. 20 years ago today started as it did in most of America every other day. It was a Tuesday. In Minnesota, it was a quiet morning with a really bluebird kind of sky. My daughter was off to her second week of kindergarten, so it was just a normal day. Across America, people were off to work and starting their daily routines. Subways were full, taking people to buildings in Manhattan. Flights left Boston, heading for the West Coast. Police officers and firefighters started their daily shifts, ready to respond to calls for help. In Washington, D.C., the yellow and blue line trains brought people to the Pentagon that defend our country each day. None of us knew that this was not going to be a normal day in America. In 1941, we experienced what President Roosevelt called a date that will live in infamy. 20 years ago today, we all lived through a day that began with evil and cowardice and ended as a day we remember for the heroes that gave their lives in an effort to save their fellow countrymen. Make no mistake, the vermin who perpetrated the attacks in New York and Washington were cowards. They murdered innocent men, women, and children. An unwarranted murder can never be justified. But out of villainy came heroes. Heroes in the form of police officers and firemen who raced into two burning towers, some giving their lives in an attempt to save others. Heroes in the form of first responders at the Pentagon who did everything they could to pull survivors from the rubble before they died. And heroes in the form of everyday people like you and me who refused to sit quietly and take their seats and took over a plane before it did more damage in the skies of Pennsylvania. 20 years ago today, America changed. Our home soil came under attack. Today we remember the victims and the heroes of that day. Here in Mound, we honor their memories with the beautiful memorial you'll see in that picture overlooking a peaceful lake. Today, we remember that day when we said goodbye to them for the very last time. But in our memories, there will never be a very last time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Osmick, for sharing those thoughts with us today. And now, Captains Greg Palm and Andy Drilling from the Mound Fire Department will narrate and conduct a tolling of the bell ceremony. Gentlemen.
The men and women of today's public safety service are confronted with a more dangerous work environment than ever before. We are forced to continually change our strategies and tactics to accomplish our mission. Although our methods may change, our goals remain the same as they have been forever: to save lives, to protect property, sometimes at a terrible cost. This is what we do. This is our calling. This is the tradition of firefighters and all public safety personnel. The fire service of today is ever-changing, but is steeped in traditions 200 years old. One such tradition is the sound of a bell, which dates back some 150 years. The bell has always been an important and symbolic part of the fire service. We utilize these traditions as symbols which reflect honor and respect to those who have given so much and who have served so well. Long before the internet was invented or telephones and radios were used across this great nation, fire departments used the telegraph for communication. The fire departments used special codes via telegraph to receive the fire alarms from the once familiar red fire alarm boxes that stood on practically every street corner of America. To symbolize the devotion that our brothers and sisters had for their duty a special signal of 3 rings, repeated 3 times, or signal 333, as we know it, represents the end of our comrades' duties and that they will be returning to quarters. This came to be called the tolling of the bell and was broadcast over the telegraph fire alarm circuits to all fire station houses in FDNY and the vicinity. The tolling of the bell sound was heard outside on streets, and the resonating echo was similar to the sound used when fire alarm gongs sounded the thousands of emergencies. In Minnesota, the bell ceremony, when used in any other type of funeral or memorial, still includes 3 rings repeated 3 times, or signal 333. This is done for the purpose of notification and as a sign of honor and respect. Such symbolism has been a time-honored fire service tradition and is often repeated at a memorial service of a fallen firefighter.
At this time, it is my distinct honor to recognize our emergency services, first responder units, and personnel representing them here today. Please hold your acknowledgement through the conclusion of the roster. North Memorial EMS, Ridgeview EMS, the Orono Police, Minnetrista Police, Hennepin County Sheriff's Water Patrol, Mound Fire. Lastly, I would also like to acknowledge any retired, former, unassigned EMS, law enforcement, or fire personnel, and current members of our partner units from across the area, and any current, retired, and former military personnel in attendance today, along with their families. Please stand to be acknowledged. Thank you. Please be seated. Before we conclude our ceremony this morning, I want to express our thanks to the Mound Fire Department members who labored behind the scenes to plan and prepare this event, especially Chief Greg Peterson and Department Administrator Vicki Weber for their work. Thank you to all of the participants in this ceremony. Again, special thanks to Senator Osmick and Mayor Salazar, Mound American Legion Post 398 Honor Guard, Cub Scout Pack 285, Miss Newell, and the Nelsons for their musical contributions today. Please join me in thanking them one more time. Thank you again for joining us this morning in a somber remembrance of the attack on America 20 years ago. and for helping us to recognize those that serve, their patriotism, commitment to service, the prominence of public safety, and the resilience of America. We will conclude the formal portion of our event this morning with the playing of taps by Mr. Gary Marquardt and the retirement of the colors by the American Legion Color Guard. Please stand as you are able. Retire the colors.
Forward, march. Forward, march.
And now the calling of taps. Thank you, Mr. Marquardt. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our ceremony. You are invited to remain here in the station and share light refreshments and snacks with our first responders and guests. View apparatus and share conversation with friends and neighbors. Our heritage room to the left of the apparatus bays is open as well this morning, where you can also view a shattered fragment of the World Trade Center on display. Thank you for attending, and please enjoy the rest of this glorious Minnesota Fall Day. Thank you.